This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
All right, it is time. We got to talk a little basketball. is in the Final Four, and this woman has been covering the University of Miami basketball team all season long, and on this road to the Final Four, Michelle Kaufman from the Miami Herald. Follow her on Twitter at Kauf Sports. Michelle, how are you doing? Wait a minute. Okay. There she is. There she is. Hello, Michelle. How are you doing?
Good. I've actually been covering this team for 26 years, basketball, 26 years since 1996. And before that, in 1985, when I was a student at Miami, that is when they resurrected the program. So I wrote a story for the school paper in 1985 that they're bringing men's basketball back to campus. And here I am.
Bill Foster?
Bill Foster. And here I am getting ready to cover the first Final Four. I have to tell you, I was out at the send-off today. They had like a send-off party for when
I saw it. I saw the videos.
And it was unbelievable. I mean, hundreds and hundreds of people. Everyone was so excited. And they've sold out their allotment of tickets. They sold out immediately, the student tickets, and over 3,000 fan tickets, 700 student tickets, and over 40 former players. I just wrote a story if you want to read it. Over 40 former players are all expected to be there. So, and also football players too, like Michael Irvin and Edgerrin James, Reggie Wayne, but also the basketball players are.
You're talking about like Dennis Burns and Eric Brown.
Eric Brown, Constantine Popa, Tim James, Kevin Presto.
Whoa, Kevin Presto.
Darius Rice.
I remember Kevin Presto and company beating Duke, right, at the James O. Knight Center. Was it Duke or was it North Carolina? Who was it that there was a big-ass win back with Kevin Presto and the boys at the Knight Center? Was it Duke?
I don't know if it was Duke, but it was in the James L. Knight Center. Yeah, a lot of those guys are coming back. More than 40 former players have requested tickets and are expected to be there. And the football team is, Mario Cristobal's coming out and former players. And let me put it this way. The University of Miami has not been in position to win a national championship in anything since 2001. It's been 21 years. It's been 21 years since the football team or the baseball team won the title. And so Canes fans are ready. They are ready to party, and they love that the U is 2 wins away from winning the national title.
And let me tell you about something that I was wrong about, and I went about it the wrong way, and I see it the right way now. And I told you about this. I'm not as attracted to this college basketball as what we saw in the 80s and the 90s. But here's where I missed the boat. And here's where I'm dead wrong. The best thing about today's college basketball is that everybody truly has a chance.
Oh, yeah.
Back in the day, that was not the case. Yeah, Villanova will sneak in, and a Loyola Marymount might make it to the Elite Eight or something like that, and you'll have a surprise team every once in a blue moon. But they didn't have a chance at all at winning. Nowadays, that's one thing that we can say about college basketball. It doesn't matter what school you go to. If you got a good coach and a decent program, you got a shot, man, nowadays.
Yeah, well, look at the three of the teams in the Final Four: San Diego State, FAU, and University of Miami. I mean, UConn is the only blue blood in that group. And so actually, I wrote in my story that the ticket prices have gone down because of that, because, the people were expecting, the Dukes and the, Houston and Texas both, I think, thought that they were going to make it as a 1 and 2 seed. And the Final Four is in Houston. So they were expecting big ticket sales from the Houston market and the Texas market. And knocked off Houston and knocked off Texas. So Miami killed the vibe for all the people of the state of Texas. But you know what? The Hurricane fans are going to come up in big numbers for anyway, big numbers. And we'll see who shows up for FAU and San Diego State. And, the UConn people will show out. So it should be fun. I mean, it's going to be.
By the way, Michelle, Texas people should be used to losing shootouts.
Ooh.
with the University of Miami. You know,
Yes.
so
Yeah.
that's kind of their MO. Unfortunately, they're Texas fans. It's just the way it goes. You get shot out by Miami, man. That's just the way it is. Now, Jordan Miller and Omir are. I mean, we could talk about obviously Wong, and we could talk about Pack and all that, but I got to tell you, Jordan Miller has been so clutch.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's crazy how clutch that kid has been, and then Omir is the pillar of stability for that entire team because he plays like a big man when he really isn't that big. But man, that kid is a redwood tree trunk in the middle of that team, and he comes up with the biggest, rebounds and defensive plays, and he's helped out a lot offensively too. At the same time, just two guys that have just been just enormous, man, to this
Yeah.
run.
Yeah. I mean, both of them, Jordan Miller. Coach L has been on a crusade for the last month saying that Jordan Miller is the most underrated player in America. I mean, he's been trying to drill that in anybody's head who wants to listen. And I know he's trying to get him drafted in the NBA. Jordan Miller came in from George Mason. Nobody really knew what to expect last year. And he was a role player last year. This year, he's become a huge player. He can do everything. I mean, he can play inside. He can play outside. He can shoot from far. He can shoot close. He's, very good at tip-ins, off rebounds, second chance points. And he's a real team leader. He's very, very smart. He's a very, very smart young man. And he plays that way. He plays really smart. He knows when to take the ball himself, when to distribute it to somebody else. And really, the whole team is very, very good at that. The thing that everyone that I've talked to, and I've been talking to some experts for another story that I'm writing tomorrow, everyone, the way they share the ball, the way Coach L has them sharing the ball is very, very unusual for college basketball. It's just they do not care who has the ball or who's scoring. They always look for who has the open shot, and they really are so, so unselfish. So Jordan Miller is having an amazing season, yes. And then Norchad, that guy is, boundless energy. And one of the big, big, big keys for this game is going to be whether he can stay out of foul trouble. Because, if you're the opponent, if I'm UConn, anybody who's an opponent of that team, I'm sure that one of their first objectives is to make him foul you so that he'll sit on the bench. Because if he gets 2 fouls in the first half, he is sitting on the bench. So a big, big key is going to be, can he play aggressive against, UConn has a guy who's 7'2" and 265 pounds, and he's 7'2". And then they have another guy who's 6'9", who's an amazing player. So they have two really, really big inside players.
And that's been the one bugaboo for that team this year. Height has been a problem for them.
Yes, height is a problem.
When that gives him issue.
Norchad does what he can, but if those two big guys knock around with him and he gets a couple fouls and he ends up sitting, that is not the same team without Norchad Omir in there. As good as the guards are, there's nobody then to crash the glass. So it's
is UConn a zone team or a man-on-man team?
Huh?
Is UConn a zone team because of that big dude in the middle, or are they more of a man-on-man team?
I think they play both. I think they play man. They have guards that like to play kind of like Miami plays. I mean, they're a little bit like Houston, where they have, they have size, but they also have guards. Texas was smaller. Houston was a little bit bigger. It's going to be an interesting matchup. It's going to be really interesting. The other thing that Coach L brought up, which is something interesting to think about, is that they're going to be playing in a dome, a football stadium of 72,000 people. Yeah. 72,000 people. And what he said is that when you play in a dome like that, it feels like you're playing outside. It doesn't even feel like you're indoors. It feels like you're playing outside because it's so big and the ceiling is so high, and that the players cannot hear the coaches at all, number one. So they've been working on hand signals. They've been working on hand signals for the last 3 days because he said the players will not be able to hear anything they say. And number two, he said that the players have to adjust to shooting with this enormous dome over them, that the atmosphere when you're shooting the ball in a regular gym, no matter where you are, it's still a gym, you know, it's still an arena, an indoor arena. When you're shooting in a big football stadium, basically of 72,000 seats, the whole ambiance is different. And basically, they're going to, I mean, all the teams have to deal with it. But he was saying that the players have basically 42 hours to get used to this very, very different environment, which changed when the NCAA started hosting the Final Four. In football stadiums, it really changed the ambiance of the actual court. So that's something else they're going to have to adjust to.
The road, if they beat UConn, Jesus Christ, the road they've had to get to the final game.
Yeah, they beat, Drake was the only one that they were
right,
ranked below, but they had to beat Indiana, which was ahead of them. They had to beat, they beat a 4, they were a 5. They beat a 4, they beat a 1, and they beat a 2. And now they're playing UConn, which a lot of people feel is, one of the favorites to win the whole thing. They're seeded a 4, but part of that is because they had a slump in the middle of the season. They started the season 14-1, and they were ranked like number 2 in the country, and everyone thought they're going to be one of the contenders for the title. They ended up losing 5 games in a row. I think they had a real dip. And then now at the end of the season, they have picked it right back up. But the reason they're ranked this low and we're not seated higher is they had a dip in the middle of the season, but they've come back really, really strong. They're a very, very strong team, and they will have big numbers because UConn has a very strong tradition. They've won national titles before, and their fans, there's nothing else to do in Storrs, Connecticut. So their fans are coming to Houston for this tournament. So they're going to have the most fans. I'm sure they're going to have the most fans, but I'm telling you that Miami, I'm hearing numbers that they could possibly have as many as 15,000 from UM, which would be a big, big showing for UM.
Well, they got enough kids that got some cash.
Yeah.
So they can go over there, they can drive their Mercedes to the airport and take a little flight over there. I know we're all rooting for FAU Miami final. I mean, that would be
can you imagine what will the entire college basketball world, what will Dick Vitale say if a team from Boca Raton is playing a team from Coral Gables for the one shining moment NCAA basketball championship? I mean, that would just be unbelievable. It would be the strangest championship game in basketball history, no question.
It's the strangest, or it's just the start of what's the norm. And maybe that's what we're going to have to start to get used to, that, next year it'll be Fairleigh Dickinson versus UMass.
Yeah.
It's just,
well, Coach L was saying, now we're going to have to wait and see if this is a one-off or this is really a trend, because last year the Final Four was North Carolina, Duke, Villanova, and Kansas. So last year it was 4 blue bloods, 4 big-time programs in the Final Four. This year, 3 of the 4 are here for the first time. So we're going to have to see next year, does it return back to the powerhouses, or is it going to be a trend? Coach L said he thinks that, the transfer portal has had a huge impact because teams can get old very quick, is what he said. Teams can get old very quick, and you can pick up 2 transfers and your whole team dynamic can change. So he's always been a proponent of transfers. He had transfers with Shane Larkin, was a transfer. Kenny Kaji was a transfer. All these guys, Trey McKinney-Jones was a transfer. Then he had the group with Angel Rodriguez and Sheldon McClellan. They were transfers. Last year, they had Charlie Moore, who came in just one season, an amazing point guard, and he took it to the Final Eight. So Coach L loves transfers. He loves taking older players, blending them into the group that he's already molded. And, so we're going to have to see. I think I just lost you. Oh, no.
No, you got me. You got me.
Do?
Yeah, I'm hearing you.
Oh, there you are. Okay, sorry. Anyway, we're going to have to see. I'll be curious, actually, next year. Is it returning to, Kentucky, Duke, North Carolina, and Kansas? Or are we going to have a brand new collection of teams every single year? It's going to be interesting to see.
One more thing before I let you go. The ladies had a great run getting to the Elite Eight. Katie Meyer, she's phenomenal, obviously. How many people do they lose from that team? Who ends up coming back?
They only lose one. They only lose Destiny Harden. That's it. I mean, everybody else.
But she's pretty good.
She's amazing. She's tough. She is tough. Everyone else can come back. Everyone else has extra years because of the COVID. Everyone got an extra year of eligibility if they want to come back. So they could have Lola Pendande back. They can have the Cavender twins back. They can have, Thomas, and they can have, Williams. I mean,
I
they've
didn't
got
think
everybody.
Haley shot well in the last 2 games. By the way,
No, she had a little. Yeah, she
had a slump. She had a slump.
She had a little slump the last couple games.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're Katie took a next step. Everyone, that was the one thing that was kind of, getting to that second weekend of the tournament. And the way they did to beat IU, to beat the number 1 seed on their home floor in such dramatic fashion. I mean, that was an amazing boost for that program, and that will carry over going forward. That's going to carry over for her recruiting, coming to next year. I mean, all they have to do is show a video of that game to the recruits and say, here we are playing the number 1 team, Indiana, on their home floor. Here's what we did, and then they played the number 1 scorer in the country from Villanova, and they were able to beat her too. They were not able to beat LSU with their coach, with their feathers and their sequins, but they were able to do everything else. And it's going to be a great boost for the women's program. Both of these programs.
Plus, from what I understand, they're improving the facilities too, so that would also make them even more attractive.
Yes, they're building. They have the building, but they're repurposing a building for the basketball team to have an expanded practice facility, weight room, training center and stuff like that. And it's going to be equally for the women's program and the men's program. So that is going to be another big boost. So this is a big, big moment for basketball. It's a big moment. We'll see what happens this weekend, but even just where they've gotten so far, the men getting to the Final Four, the women getting to where they got, to Elite Eight is a really big boost for basketball.
Who would know, right? FAU, Nova Southeastern, women, men. Who would figure that the Heat are the mediocre bunch out of the group? That's amazing. It's amazing. Anyway.
It's amazing. It's been fun. It's been a March Madness in every sense of the word.
Follow her on Twitter at Kauf Sports and catch her work there at the Miami Herald like I do. Michelle, as always, thank you. Be safe in your travels. Enjoy Houston.
All right.
Go Canes.
All right. We'll talk after. Thank you.
Take care. Michelle.
Enjoy the fair. All right.
Definitely.
Bye-bye.
Always. Thank you. Yes. Enjoy the fair. All right. Let's hope she's covering a champion. Well, you know what? If I'm the Herald, right? Even if I don't want him to lose, okay? I'm just saying. But if FAU wins and loses, don't you just leave the writer there to cover the local team that is in the championship game? Right?
Yeah, I would.
Yeah, because I'm sure they've got somebody from the Palm Beach Post following.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.